Hey everybody, welcome back, or if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the Greatest Mixtape Podcast. My name is Eric.
And my name is Mac.
And Mac, why don't you set this one up for us? What are we doing today?
Well, unfortunately, we recently lost a good friend of ours. Our friend Dan passed away. And aside from just being a great guy.
One of the best ever.
Yeah, he's definitely the best of us. He lived every day. He didn't waste a day. If he wasn't hiking or skiing or camping or teaching or doing something with his wife and daughter, Karen and Kira, he also loved to go check out live music.
Yeah, lots of great memories with Dan at concerts and clubs.
Yes, and Eric, for a while, he was your drum tech.
Yeah, dude could break down and set up my drums faster than I can.
But in that spirit, to honor our good friend Dan, we want to talk about live music experiences, live concerts, and just memorable experiences we've had going out and seeing shows. Joining us today, we're going to have another friend come in.
Yes.
A good friend, Sammy, who is also a well-versed guy when it comes to music and live shows. So let's bring him in. Sammy, come on in.
Mac, Eric, what's up, guys? First of all, condolences on your friend Dan. Very sorry for your loss, man. I'm pumped and honored that you guys are having me on, talk about live music today, and just to be on the show in general, man. I love the show. I love listening, and I'm pumped to be on.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, man. Great to have you here, Sammy. Sammy and I met many years ago. From the moment we met, we were talking about music. And before we jump into this, like, Sammy is such a fan of live music. Can we talk about the spreadsheet, Sammy?
I was wondering if the spreadsheet was going to come up. Yeah. I am a nerd just across the board, but particularly when it comes to like music, I love shows. I know obviously the listeners can't see my office, but it's littered. It's literally everything on the wall is gig posters and shows I've been to. But yeah, I have a spreadsheet that I think is like 100% accurate. There may be a show or two that I forgot on there of like every gig I've ever been to, venue, artist, date, all that stuff. And that's like one of the first things I do when I come back from a show is like the next day I'll be like, I need to update the spreadsheet just so I can, keep the tally going.
That's amazing, man. Just the fact that you're able to look at the spreadsheet and go back and sort of reminisce and remember these shows. I mean, admittedly, the first half of my concert career, a little fuzzy. So you have the spreadsheet, man.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's where, like, I probably have some shows early on that, like, I've somehow, like, forgotten or whatever. But part of it is, too, like, I grew up in a super small town. Gigs didn't come through where I grew up, right? You had to drive an hour plus to see anyone.
Sure.
And even those towns didn't get, like, a ton of shows. So it really wasn't until I was in college, late 90s, early 2000s, that like I really started going to shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's like somewhere in there, I don't know, early 2000s, I started thinking about like shows and having conversations like this, like, oh, what's the gig? What's the best show you've been to? Or who have you seen lately or whatever? And I just was like, man, I need to start like writing this down. And at that time, I still had ticket stubs and a whole binder of ticket stubs. Yeah. So it was easy to go back and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I went to this show. And
sure.
I still have the program from the very first concert I ever went to, AC/DC, Greensboro Coliseum. But yeah, nice. So like that was easy for me to go in and start the spreadsheet, and then I just populated it from there.
That's so cool. I think I've forgotten more than I can remember, to be honest with you.
I know. I'm jealous of the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
If I don't have a ticket stub, like Eric, you said, like the memories are fading. So
yeah, we're of a certain age where things start to get a little fuzzy. You know what I mean?
Trust me, I understand.
So yeah, like Mac was saying, we are going to discuss memorable live concert moments. Could be an amazing performance, could just be something that was, something insane happened that's so, memorable it stays with you, or anything like that.
You guys always talk about daunting tasks. I think, Eric, you said it like the SNL episode recently, that like, and this was so hard for me, like going through the spreadsheet, looking at this, like live shows are just so good, man. Like, I mean, we all love music in general. I know you guys do.
Absolutely. Right.
It's like just the most communal thing in the world, right? It's like the only thing I can think of. Like when people are like, why do you go to so many shows? I'm like, well, I mean, who knows? There's so many artists I didn't see. But it's like, I feel like it's the only thing you can go to where it's like everyone there is on the same page, like even sporting events, like you got the other team, like everybody there because like the music speaks to them, a song speaks to them, like whatever. And you're like experiencing this thing together. And it's just like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, man. That's just it. You're right. Everyone there is on the same team. And there's just this feeling, even just complete strangers. There's just somehow there's a bond.
But it was daunting to narrow down what we're going to talk about today.
It's
I know for
always
all
tough.
of us, we were texting about it, but man, this one was hard.
Yeah. Yeah, this cut down really sucked. Like you're saying, so we're going to talk about just memorable live experiences. We're all bringing 3 to the party that we're going to talk about. So, Sammy, you're a guest here in our house. How about you kick it off?
Oh man, put me on deck first off, man. Like I said, this was super hard. I think I had like a dozen or so on here when I was going through the spreadsheet looking at stuff, and I had one that was automatic that I know Mac knows, and we'll get to that a little later on. But so first up for me is David Byrne. I saw David Byrne, lead singer of the Talking Heads, at Shaky Knees Festival in Atlanta, May 4th, 2018. Yeah, Eric, right in your backyard.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a huge Talking Heads fan. Like, one of my favorite bands of all time. Love them. Stop Making Sense to me is like the Pantheon concert film. I saw it in IMAX when it came out like 2 years ago, whatever it was. And obviously the Heads haven't played together since like 1984. I think was the last time they actually played a gig together, and I was 5.
It's been that long. Wow.
Yeah, like they kept making music, but I'm pretty sure they never played a gig again after 84, 85, something like that. And so, again, I was 5 years old in 1984, right? So like I wasn't going to gigs back then.
Right.
And so I remember somewhat maybe funny story. David Byrne played the Roots Picnic in New York City in 2016, Bryant Park. And I was going because there's a lot of artists I wanted to see on that event. And I was like, oh, and David Byrne's playing with the Roots behind him. So like, this is incredible.
That's
like,
amazing.
I was like, I'll get to hear a couple of songs. And he comes on stage, and it was like the most quintessential David Byrne quirky thing. He walks out and he's like, I recently scored a Broadway play about the life of Joan of Arc, and I'd like to play some songs from it for you today. And that's what he played.
No
he played like
kidding.
six songs about Joan of Arc. And I mean, they sounded great. It was David Byrne with the Roots.
Yeah,
But
how could it be bad?
like,
right.
I was just like, man, this is like so bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, not what I was hoping for, right?
Right.
And then at the very end, he's like, oh, I guess you want to hear a Talking Heads song. And they played Born Under Punches. And then he walked off stage. And I was like, okay. So then, so go to Shaky Knees. So I had low expectations going into Shaky Knees, right? Because I'm like, dude, is this going to be some other like off the wall things? But I'd heard about American Utopia because he'd launched that at Coachella like the month before, which, he went on to do on Broadway. And it's just this amazing show. I don't know if he's going to do another run of it, but if you like Talking Heads or David Byrne or just visually entertaining shows, it's like incredibly recommended. But anyway, he comes out and he does the performance, and it's unbelievable, right? Like probably 2 or 3 songs in, he goes right into Talking Head stuff.
Nice.
So I'm like, okay, rock on. This is great.
Yeah.
And then, Naive Melody, This Must Be the Place is like one of my favorite songs ever written. And it was just this moment in that show when I was like going through the spreadsheet. I was like, man, I just remember being at that gig with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, Chelsea. And like the sun is setting in Atlanta, like over the skyscrapers. He goes into like, This Must Be the Place. I'm like, this is just amazing, right? This is like an unbelievable moment. That was like the first dance at our wedding reception was that song.
Super cool.
That's
like,
awesome.
I had one request of reception. I was like, I want a neon sign that says This Must Be the Place that hangs in the venue while we dance to that song. And that was it. And she was like, cool, yeah, rad, I'm in. So we got a lady to make a neon sign. It's hanging in our house right in our foyer. Like when you walk in, we still have it. And so like, yeah, that's that because of my love for them, the Talking Heads, that song and just that moment, that's why that one like just will always stand out to me as like a tippy top concert experience.
Hell yeah.
Dude, that's incredible. Like you said, that's what we're talking about. Those moments, like, the shows we're going to bring up, we're talking about like there was something that happened that just stuck with you and was just so amazing. I didn't know that full story. Like, I know you'd seen David Byrne. I know what a big fan you were, but that is incredible. That's just great.
Especially after seeing him that first time with the Roots, where you're just like, oh, okay, what the hell is he playing? But
dude, I can't tell you how disappointed I was after that. Thankfully, like Nile Rodgers played like right after him, and he was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But
he's
like
doing the
just
hits.
for like, he's just coming out and just banging out. He's coming out. He's the antithesis of David Byrne. He's just like, I'm gonna play every damn song that I have written or like whatever.
Giving the people what they want.
Daft Punk song, whatever. And it's just like, Okay, yeah, he's like literally the opposite end of the spectrum of that, and yeah, it was like such a disappointing moment, and getting to experience that, and you're anytime you go to a festival, you got a million different acts you see, and saw some great ones at that festival too, but it was just like that moment stands out, and hearing him play that song and playing it live, and being like I said with my girlfriend at the time and now wife, and
That's
it was just super
super
cool, and
Yeah.
yeah, man, and like I said, I went on to see American Utopia later. Awesome, even in not the setting of a festival with like playing at sunset in the golden hour, but yeah, the one in Atlanta was tough to beat.
That's great,
Man,
man.
that's perfect.
All right, dude. Well, again, man, great pick. I guess I'm next up. So I'm going to talk about a show. We're going back to 1995, and I kind of saw it twice, which is wild. I'll get into that in a second. But it was Nine Inch Nails and David Bowie. They toured together in 1995. Living in Connecticut at the time, went to see them at the Meadows Music Theater, which is the big amphitheater in Hartford. And what makes this one so amazing for me was it was my first time seeing David Bowie, actually my only time seeing David Bowie. I was a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. I was a bit of a Bowie fan. I hadn't quite turned into the fanboy that I am today. It was crazy. The concert was unbelievable. One of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life. But what makes this story just so great is that, like I said earlier, I got to see it twice, sort of. Got a call from my buddy Jimmy. Jimmy was a bouncer at some clubs I worked at, and he was also worked security at the Meadows. And he called me earlier that day. He said, "Hey, man, I got to work tonight. Can you give me a ride home? I'm kind of stuck." I said, "Yeah, dude, no problem. I think his car's in the shop or something." So I said, "What time you want me to pick you up?" He said, 8 o'clock, whatever it was, something like that. So great. Drive to Hartford. I pull up to the gate. There's a guy there, and I said, "Yeah, I'm here to pick up Jimmy." He says, "Oh, well, he's still working, man." He goes, "Why don't you just park over there?" He goes, "You want to see the show?" And I look at him like, huh? I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I'm going along with it. I have no idea what he's talking about. He's like, "Oh, cool. We'll just park over there." And he's like, "You see those people by the gate? Just go stand with them." Turns out the local radio station, the local rock radio station, WCCC in Hartford, had done a contest where 10 winners got to go in and watch the dress rehearsal the night before the concert. So I just happened to be there picking up my buddy to give him a ride home. And they're like,
Oh,
"Yeah, go ahead and watch the show while you're waiting for Jimmy." I said, "You got to be shitting me." Next thing I know, I'm in the front row, and they didn't do the entire performance, but the way the show worked, Nine Inch Nails comes out and they do their full set. And then David Bowie comes out without Nine Inch Nails leaving and does a couple songs. And as they're doing a couple songs, more of Bowie's band is coming out on stage, and the Nine Inch Nails guys are slowly disappearing. And so it was a nonstop concert. There was no set change. It just one act bled into another. And then after a couple more songs, Trent was the last one to leave the stage of Nine Inch Nails, and Bowie just took off and did his own thing. So we kind of watched a couple of the, Nine Inch Nails songs. We watched the transition set, and then we watched a couple of Bowie songs, and that was the dress rehearsal. So again, I got to see a good chunk of the show from the front row. The reason it's just so memorable for me was, like I said, I was a bit of a noob with David Bowie. I knew his hits and I liked him and everything, but this was, I think, the moment that I just went full on fanboy. I'll never forget sitting there and I'm watching one of my all time favorite bands. I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and I'm watching them do their little dress rehearsal part. And at the point in the show where Bowie comes out on stage, there's like this red sort of velvety curtain behind Nine Inch Nails. And at least for the dress rehearsal, because of course the next night I had cheap seats, I was up on the lawn. But during the dress rehearsal, you just see these two like bony hands come out of the curtain and just kind of push it aside. And Bowie just walks out on stage. And I don't know if you can see it through the camera. I literally have goosebumps right now as I'm telling you this story. It felt like I was in the presence of like some sort of greatness. Bowie walked on stage, dude, and I still, to this day, I get chills. Talk about a man who had a presence that you can't even put into words, man. I mean, fucking legend of a musician, actor, artist, just an unbelievable human being. And I just felt so cool being in his presence and being just, 10 feet away from him when he walked up to the front of the stage. And then watching the show, I've been the biggest Bowie fan ever since. Completely got me hooked. So for me, 2 amazing nights of music. And then I got to, the next night, like I said, see the full show from a much further distance, unfortunately. But that was just one of the greatest moments of my life, man.
Dude, that's an incredible story. I mean, unbelievable in so many ways. Like getting to go sit in the front row, and I'm super jealous of like the Bowie thing. He's a guy that like I didn't get into. Man, I like super late on Bowie, right? Like super
Yeah.
late. I've seen Nine Inch Nails, always awesome.
Sure.
But I don't know. I'm trying to think too of just like all the shows I've been to, the whole concept of like piecemealing. Part of Nine Inch Nails coming off stage and Bowie's guys coming on, and there's no set change. Like that's really awesome. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. And of course, it would be like Bowie and Trent Reznor to come up with
Of
something
course.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Two of the most creative, musical minds on the planet at the time, Like I said, Nine Inch Nails did their full set. And then Bowie comes out on stage and they go into a classic Bowie track. It's called Subterraneans. It's off the Low album. And then they do one of my favorite Bowie songs. They do Scary Monsters. And then they go into Reptile by Nine Inch Nails. So they're kind of ping pong, back and forth between Bowie songs and Nine Inch Nails songs. They do Reptile. They do Hello Space Boy from Bowie. And then the last song of the transition is Hurt by Nine Inch Nails. So you've got Trent and David Bowie singing Hurt. And Trent is playing a saxophone. A lot of people don't realize Trent Reznor, before, Nine Inch Nails and everything, he's known as like a programmer, a keyboardist. I mean, he's a multi-instrumentalist, plays everything. But in high school, he played saxophone in like the marching band and everything. So here he is on stage playing this like ripping sax solo during Hurt. Just the coolest shit ever, man. It was such a wild, wild experience.
Dude, that is such a great pick, man.
Thanks,
and
dude.
I'm like you. I didn't get Bowie when I was younger. I just didn't get it, and just as I got older and I continue to get older, unfortunately, like I appreciate Bowie more and more.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
No doubt.
I think we talked about this as it related to Queen as well. I think when we were both younger, we didn't really get it.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I don't know, it just kind of clicked and we're like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah, right.
But at like 13, 14 years old, you couldn't play Queen for me.
Right.
Yeah, now I'm like this huge fan, Same with Bowie. I think I just didn't really, like I knew like Modern Love and, stuff like that when we were kids. And it was fine. Again, I never disliked him, but I just didn't really care on the level that I did after that day, man.
Right.
I'm telling you.
But yeah, man, lucky bastard. What a story.
That was great. It was a
No
good
doubt.
time. Good time.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
All right. So guys, I went with a theme for my 3 picks.
Okay.
And these shows are all shows that I went to by myself.
That's awesome,
Nice.
dude.
For whatever reason, you find out even if someone can't go or whatever. And, the lesson here being, it doesn't matter. Just go. Get your ass out to a show because it might be the coolest thing you've ever seen, even if you're there by yourself.
Hell yeah.
Amen, dude.
So these are my 3 picks. And this one I've mentioned a couple times, in previous episodes, but not in too much detail. And that's Faith No More
Nice.
in 2015 at Webster Hall in New York City.
Nice.
Yeah, it was just an incredible night there by myself. But yeah, just the
I
dork.
love it, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah, the dork in the middle of the room, by himself. But the band, they come out, they're all dressed in that white linen,
Yeah, I saw that tour too,
right?
man.
Yeah, and there's
So good.
flowers and shit all over the stage.
Yes.
And the first song in the set, and pardon me for going there with the language, but the first song in the set was a song called Motherfucker. Okay?
Yeah.
And its song starts really slow, and it's keyboardist Roddy Bottom, one of the greatest names in rock and roll.
No doubt.
Fantastic name.
He's handling the vocals until the chorus, and then Mike Patton just walks out on stage, and he's like, "Hello, motherfucker!" Like it was one of the greatest intros to a show I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
But it was
So
just great.
good.
I mean, the set was full of, everything you wanted to hear, right?
Yeah.
Be aggressive, epic, the gentle art of making enemies.
Yes.
We mentioned, I told this story when we did our Yacht Rock episode, but in the middle of Midlife Crisis, there was the Boss Skaggs Lowdown sort of interlude in the middle of Midlife Crisis, which was just crazy. Superhero, Ashes to Ashes, which is Ashes to Ashes, might be my favorite Faith No More song. And that chorus is so much fun to sing. So when you were in your room full of a couple thousand people singing along to that, it was, it was magical, man. It was just so cool. But just, in general, incredible performance by Mike Patton, the lead singer of Faith No More. Like, he was in complete command of the stage.
Yeah.
At times he looked like a conductor up there, because he would turn around to the band and tell them with using hand gestures to dial it down or when to bring it up.
Yeah.
You know, he was just in total control up there, and the band sounded flawless. I mean, they were just incredible. And Eric, I'm sure, Mike Borden on drums.
Oh,
You know,
dude, he's one of my favorites.
so
He's
just to get to
amazing.
watch him, and he's just basher, right? He's just beating the shit out of the drums all night, and he's just great. So much fun to watch.
Yep.
But there were two really, really like extraordinary highlights of that show. And the first was "We Care a Lot," which is already just a great fun song.
Yeah,
But
great live song.
oh,
It's just got so much energy, and the way people respond to it is just unreal.
they brought out a special guest for "We Care a Lot." It was Rozelle from The Roots.
No way.
Oh,
And he was beatboxing
Oh,
throughout the whole song.
dude.
Dude,
That's sick.
it was so much fun. It was so cool. Like, they could have just played the song straight and I would have been happy.
Sure.
But then you get Rozelle on stage just beatboxing the whole thing, and it was incredible.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then the other like super big highlight was when they did the Commodores cover, "Easy,"
Yeah, dude.
right?
Yeah.
Because it was a sing along.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody is singing along, and it was so beautiful. Like, I actually got choked up in the middle of it. Like, I got a little,
Little bit clump.
a lump in my throat, because it's just this, like you said, Sammy, this communal thing, and everyone is just singing along, and all you can hear is the crowd. You can hardly hear the band, and it was just beautiful. I was like, this is what it's all about, man. I could have stayed home. I could have found a reason not to go.
Right.
Oh, I don't want to go into the city by myself. Be an old man. No, get to the show.
Yeah.
You might see something that's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So well said.
What a night. What a night.
Yeah, you just don't know what could happen when you walk out that door, man.
Right.
Whatever, man. Go.
Yep. No one's going to notice you're there by yourself. Don't worry about looking like an idiot. Just go.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, there's been so many times when like I've been on the fence about going to a gig because I was going by myself or somebody bailed.
Yeah.
And then, you walk out, and even if it's not quite as epic of a moment as what you just described, with Easy, it's still, you're just like, I'm so glad I went to that show,
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. All right. There you go. There's my first pick
That's
right there.
fantastic.
Nice, dude. Well, that's a fantastic pick, dude. And like I said, I saw that same tour, and I saw it at unfortunately, well, the club still exists in name, the Masquerade here in Atlanta. The original Masquerade is now like office building or something. It broke my heart. They moved to a new venue, but I saw that show at the original Masquerade. But what was crazy was it was outdoors. There's an outdoor area, and they actually set up a stage outside. So it was this beautiful, evening, and we walk back there, and, and they had the tents and the bars and everything set up and merch and everything. So it was like a little mini festival behind the building. It was really, really cool. But when we walked in and I saw that stage, dude, and everything's draped in white with like flowers all over the stage, I'm like, what the fuck is this? They looked like a funeral or something. I'm like, what is going on, dude? And then they come out in all white, like linen fucking outfits and shit. It was just... I was like, yeah, it doesn't get much more faith no more than that.
Right. And
man.
they had like the beaded necklaces on, and everything.
Yes, dude. It was so
Hysterical.
bizarre. Yeah. They're so great live too, like you said, man.
All right. Sammy, what do you got for us next, man?
So a decent little segue, solo shows. This is one I saw by myself.
Nice.
And one thing I don't have in my spreadsheet is shows I went to solo, but out of the 200, whatever, some odd shows I've been to, I bet a good percentage of them are solo. Because,
Wow.
yeah, Mac, to your point, it's just like, I mean, I've traveled a lot for work, right? So like the first thing I always do if I've got downtime is like, who's playing? Who's playing in town somewhere, right? And that was this show I'm going to talk about. And it may be a band, and if you don't listen to like newer punk rock or indie rock, you may not be familiar with this band. There's a band called Parquet Courts out of New York City by way of Denton, Texas, Von Erich country. But yeah, so they're out of New York City. Yeah. Dropping a Von Erich reference.
That was impressive. That's a first for this show, man.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
But yeah, so Parquet Courts, punk rock band, and I guess I'll preface it by saying like I love punk music.
Yeah.
And I especially love, like Black Flag, and Black Flag's obviously not the DC, but like the DC scene, like Bad Brains, Minor Threat, and especially Fugazi. Like I love Fugazi, and I like romanticize about like living in DC in like the late 80s, early 90s, because I'll just watch YouTube clips of like these DIY Fugazi shows in like a rec center with like 150 people there, and it's like sweaty and looks like it could just like spontaneously combust at any time. Like the energy is just like crazy, right? And so since I started being able to watch shows like that on YouTube, I'm like, man, like I've got to go to a show like that sometime. And so Parquet Courts, they've kind of expanded their sound over the years, but their second and third albums, where they really got popular, Light Up Gold and Sunbathing Animal, are pretty straightforward, driving punk rock or hardcore songs, right?
Yeah.
So I was in Detroit, Michigan for work, and I was like, oh, Parquet Courts is playing this place called PJ's Lager House, which is apparently one of the oldest bars in Detroit. It's in Corktown by the old Tiger Stadium, if you're familiar with Detroit. So I go to this venue by myself. It is, maybe 150 person venue, 200, and it was what I was describing when I talk about when I watched like the Fugazi shows or the Minor Threat shows from back in the day. It was just like a 30-minute set, 40 minutes, right? Yeah. And they just like, it's tiny venue, it's packed, it's unseasonably warm, even though it's June. Like in Detroit, it was just like smoldering hot. If there was AC, it was terrible, like, and you're just one of my vivid memories is like they blazed through their last two songs, which is actually like a YouTube video of like, I think they did the NPR or one of the stations in New York City. They like played these two songs back to back. It wasn't quite the same setting, but they just blow through these two songs. And I remember there was either a door or a window directly behind the drum kit. And as soon as they finished their songs, the drummer opened it and like went outside on the street. Like it was that hot. And yeah, like, I don't know. It was just such a fun night. And that was one, like, I really wrestled on whether to put in my 3 picks here. But like when I think about memorable shows, like that is one for me because it's something that I've never really experienced otherwise. Right? I've been to other punk shows and I don't know. It didn't really, they had good energy, but like not the same as that. Like I was like, oh man, this feels like a very DIY, very sweaty. Yeah. Just like I paid $10, I'm drinking a cheap beer, and this band's going to play for 35 minutes, and it's going to be awesome.
That's so cool. But yeah, no, it sounds like you saw, and probably why it stands out for you, is it's like the quintessential punk rock show. You know what I mean? It's not like seeing, Green Day in a 30,000 seat arena. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like real punk rock in a real punk rock venue. I mean, it sounds like it doesn't get much more, punk than that.
Yeah, exactly. At the nail on the head. It was like quintessential, like what I wanted to see. And like I said, I don't think I've seen a show quite like that. I've seen Parquet Courts as they played like bigger rooms and they've been fun, but it's just, it wasn't the same as seeing them there.
Yeah. It's like clubs to me, I always kind of equate it to like a dive restaurant. Like sometimes you walk into a restaurant, it looks like a complete shithole and you have the best meal of your life. Clubs are like that, man. There's so many clubs that we've been to over the years that just, looks like a complete, just terrible place. And you walk in and you leave having had the best night of your life. There's just something about those rooms that, maybe it's the history or, who's played there before. I don't know what it is, but some of these dive clubs, man, I've had the best times at.
Yeah,
no doubt. Random aside about Parquet Courts, and this can end up on the cutting room floor if need be.
He censors himself already.
So one of my funny things with them when I try to like tell people about them, because they had one song that was like, I used the term hit loosely, right? It probably charted on Billboard. I didn't look it up candidly, but it was like, it's a very dancey, funky tune called Wide Awake.
Okay.
It's probably like circa 2018. And again, so like, take the scene I just told you, sweaty, straightforward punk rock DIY. And then this band puts out this song and it becomes a favorite of Ellen DeGeneres. And she has them on the show to play that song. And like, I remember like, seeing on their social media, like, hey, check us out on Ellen. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, I thought it was like
crazy.
I was like, is it April 1st? Like, is it April Fool's Day? Like, why these guys can't be on Ellen? And then, they hear the track, and the track had kind of like was getting some buzz at that point. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is like very unlike a lot of their stuff. Although, like I said, they've definitely expanded. Like they don't do, all their stuff is not just straightforward punk anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, just from like seeing them in this tiny, sweaty club playing a 35-minute set. And then it's like, oh yeah, this band's going to be on Ellen in 4 years or whatever. I was like,
that's hysterical.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And you did turn me on to them too. Like, what's that one song, Stoned and Starving?
Oh yeah. Great song.
Yeah, it's a great song, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
outstanding
man.
song.
I got to catch up.
Yeah.
All right. My next pick is, it's kind of what I alluded to earlier in the show when we were kind of setting it up. It's memorable, not necessarily because of the performance and how great it was, which it was fantastic, but it's memorable for a little bit of a darker reason. But I was there, so, and I'm talking about Skid Row and what's become known amongst the metal community as the bottle incident. Yeah, if you're not familiar, here we go, buckle up. December 27th, 1989 in Springfield, Massachusetts, Springfield Civic Center. Saw so many shows there, man. It was Skid Row's first album, and they were opening for Aerosmith on their Pump Tour. 18 in Life had dropped. I Remember You had dropped. Youth Gone Wild. So they're blowing up. At some point in the set, Sebastian Bach gets hit in the head with a bottle. Somebody chucks a bottle. He's about to lead the band into a song called Piece of Me, which is fantastic because if that had to happen that night, it happened at the perfect moment where he's about to go into the song about, being a tough guy and being a badass. And if you want some, come get a piece of me. And he gets hit in the head with a bottle. Like, it was fucking just Hollywood couldn't have written that any better. So he's pissed off. He picks the bottle up and he's trying to find the guy in the crowd who did it. Some people are pointing somebody out in the crowd. Now where I am in proximity to all this, I am sort of to the left of the stage. So I'm in front of, if you ever saw them live, I'm on Snake Sabo's side of the stage. So on the other side was Scotty Hill and Rachel Bolin. And then, Sebastian's in the middle. So he's probably a good 10 feet from where I am. I'm way up front. I was young back in the day. I would do that. I get seats now because I'm old. But back then, yeah, I would weasel my way up front. So I didn't actually see him get hit. But by the time he's yelling into the crowd, we kind of figured out what was going on. But he's got the bottle in his hand. He's like, "Was that you? Pardon my French, cocksucker. Was that you?" And he says, "Well, if you think you're so tough, why don't you come up here and get a piece of me?" And I mean, it was just perfect. The crowd goes fucking bananas. And as the song's playing, he just was so pissed that he goes over and he throws the bottle into the crowd, trying to hit the guy that threw it at him. Smashes this poor girl in the face with the bottle. Her name was Elizabeth Meyer. She was 17 at the time. Breaks her nose. And then he jumps in the crowd to fight with the guy and inadvertently kicks another guy in the face. I mean, everybody's just getting fucked up at this show. And it all started because some asshole threw a bottle. When the thing was all said and done, security gets him back up on stage. He finishes the set. By the end of it, Sebastian, he got arrested after the show, received 2 years probation after paying a $16,000 fine, plus a cash payout to Elizabeth Meyer. And there's conflicting reports as to how much that payout was, but it's somewhere in the ballpark of $300,000 to $500,000. So yeah, that's why that concert was so memorable for me. I remember it made MTV News. It was all over the place. I remember going, "Holy shit, man!" I was like 10 feet away from getting smashed in the face by a bottle at a Skid Row show. And then a funny side story. At the time, I didn't know Beth Myers, but got to know her later on in life. She was actually dating a friend of mine who played in another band in New England. And so I'd met her, and I never realized until, I don't know, 3 or 4 times of hanging out that she was the Skid Row girl. And we're like, holy shit. She didn't really want to talk about it much. But of course, those of us that were learning of this for the first time were like, "Oh my God, tell us the story." I'm sure by that point she was sick of talking about it. But that one will forever be etched in my brain, man. And to be honest with you, I barely, and it wasn't because I was misbehaving, I don't even remember Aerosmith. I remember Skid Row because I was just so blown away by their set. And of course, the bottle incident, but they were that band. And Mac, we've touched on this before when they've come up on the podcast, but they were kind of that band that ushered us a little bit out of the hair stuff and started us down the Pantera path and bands like that. Yeah. They were much heavier than your average hair band back then.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the first time seeing them live, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this band is amazing." So,
and thanks for clearing that, because in my mind, for some reason, I thought they were opening for Bon Jovi.
Well, they did open for Bon Jovi. I don't know if it was before Aerosmith or after. Oh. I believe we saw that tour as well. Yeah. But yeah, on this particular night, it was the Aerosmith tour.
Wow. I still remember seeing the video footage of Sebastian throwing the bottle back and the whole thing. What a big deal it was at the time.
Yep.
Dude, literally when you brought this up, I had like Kurt Loder in my head, like remembering, like seriously, like I was like, "Oh man, I remember Kurt Loder like teeing this up." Yeah, exactly. And like they cut to the video. I can like picture the video in my head of Sebastian,
Yeah.
like jumping in the crowd and whatnot. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a very memorable show. It's crazy you were there. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. I was right there. Like I said, in my youth, I used to do that a lot, but not so much anymore.
Because didn't he jump in like feet first and he had like big boots on? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feet first. Yeah. Watch it's their home video was called "Oh Say Can You Scream." They cover it in detail in the home video too, like, you know, because back then everybody had their Sony camcorders, and they were talking to him on the bus, and he's showing his big gash in his head, and, you know, had to get stitches or staples or something, and he's like, yeah, we're in Springfield, Mass, I'm waiting for the police to come and take me away. And it was just wild, man. It was wild. I'm sure not his proudest moment, but but I mean, it still gets talked about today, man. The bottle incident,
Definitely memory.
for sure. And real quick, before I certainly wouldn't want Sebastian Bach just to be remembered for the bottle incident. That dude is one of my all-time favorite like rock/metal singers. Oh my God, what a voice!
Yeah, no doubt. Dude.
No doubt.
doubt.
Still, he kills.
Yeah.
Man.
Dude, no doubt. He when I saw GNR, he came out in Vegas. He came out and played a couple songs with him, and he sounded so. And I don't mean any disrespect to Axl,
Sure,
but Sebastian came out and it was like, dude, like that guy, man, he's got it.
Yeah, I just got served a video by him today on YouTube. Apparently, there is or Instagram rather. There's a Triumph tribute album coming out.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And of course, he's Canadian.
Yep.
So he does a song on it, and he's just teasing. He's doing like, you know, just drops like a little verse on Instagram. And oh my God, dude! I mean, he sounds like he sounded in like fucking 89 or 90. Like he still sounds amazing.
Yeah.
His clean voice is still perfect. And, oh God, guy's unreal.
Totally.
Oh my God, awesome! My only regret is that I wasn't standing next to you when that happened. Like,
right?
Yeah.
I know. Well, back in those days, yeah, we would all just like bum rush the floor and be like, if we get split up, man, we'll just meet back here later. And we always got separated. But
meet you at the front door. Yeah.
Yep.
But Sammy mentioned Guns N' Roses, which is the segue into my next pick.
Okay.
Guns N' Roses, October 2017 at Madison Square Garden in New York City, the Not In This Lifetime tour. Another sort of musical dream come true. Seeing GNR at the Garden. Can't understate the impact that Appetite for Destruction had on my life. You know,
same, bro.
Remember when that came out? I still remember the first time I heard it, you know, who I was with, what time of day it was. Like, that album was everything when it came out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I never got to see him back in the day. I mean, they flamed out way too early. Like, there was always canceled shows, canceled tours, you know, then the breakup. Like, I just never had the chance. So finally getting to see them, even though in 2017, without Steven Adler, without Izzy Stradlin, still meant the world to see him.
For sure.
You know, and you're doing it at the Garden, which is just, you know, insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, great set list. You know, they come out, they start with It's So Easy. You know, Duff McKagan with that bass line to kick it off.
Yeah.
Just
iconic.
We've talked about this, Eric Duff, that no matter where he's at, he's the coolest guy in the room.
Always, 100%.
You know, so, you know, lead with It's So Easy, right into Mr. Brownstone. You know, third song in is Chinese Democracy. You're like, whatever. But then come right back with Welcome to the Jungle. So the 3 out of the first 4 songs are just absolute bangers off of Appetite. So just great way to start the set off, man. It was crazy. Yeah. But then, of course, all the hits come, right? Rocket Queen, You Could Be Mine, Sweet Child of Mine. You know, they did a couple covers. They did Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here and Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome. And of course, Knock, Knock, Knocking on Heaven's Dawa. Hi. But yeah, man, like Slash was on fire. Like his solo was just fucking incredible. You know, Encore, of course, they, you know, Patience Don't Cry, Paradise City. They covered The Seeker by The Who.
Oh, wow.
But here's the standout moment. They go into Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory by Johnny Thunders. They do the cover.
Yeah.
Right? It was on the Spaghetti Incident.
Yep.
And I'm like a huge Johnny Thunders fan.
Yeah.
Right. And even though like that song was on the Spaghetti Incident, no one around me seemed to know what the fuck was going on. No, it's time to check my phone. And I am fixed on the stage watching Duff sing You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory and in New York City.
Oh my God.
Right. And I'm just, you know, I'm transcending as I'm watching this. I'm like, I'm just in this heavenly place. I'm just floating. Like no one, I'm so happy listening to that song in New York. And again, no, everyone around me is just fucking clueless.
Right.
You know?
Oh my God.
But for those of you who don't know, Johnny Thunders from the New York Dolls, and of course later the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
But Johnny Thunders has always been one of my favorites. So again, just that moment, there's that moment that we're talking about that just stands out, and you feel something that just stays with you forever. And that was it right there. Listening to Duff sing that song, man. It was incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, same for me. I didn't get to see them back in the day. I think same reasons you gave. Like it seemed like they had come and gone so fast, even though it was really, quite a few years. And they never went away. But the original core, the classic lineup, as they say, would have loved to have seen it. Just never had a chance. And then again, saw them years later, and same, man. I turned into a 17-year-old kid again, man.
Yep.
It was so great.
Yeah. It was like that teenage dream come true. Like I finally got to see him.
Yep.
Yeah. I caught them twice on that tour, man. And it was so surreal to see them. I've flew to Vegas. This was one that it was tough to not put this in my list.
Yeah.
But I literally flew to Vegas because I didn't know if they'd make it. I was like, these guys, you know what I mean? Like I was serious. I was like, I got to see him. I got to see him. So I flew to Vegas for those first shows that they did. They did the couple at the Troubadour, I think.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they did the big shows at T-Mobile, and Axl was on the Dave Grohl throne because he had, I can't remember what injury he had, but that's the same thing. I was like, dude, with however old when Appetite came out, but same thing, man. It's like one of those albums, like you get it and you're like, oh my God, like this is otherworldly, and just totally impacts you and how you think about music and how you hear things. And I mean, still to this day, I can listen to that album.
It still
front
stands
in, like without, all the way to Rocket Queen. It's just like, perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so
There's
awesome.
still nothing that's...
And getting to see them in the Garden is so cool, man.
And there's still nothing that sounds like that album.
No.
There's never been.
That album, there was just something so dangerous and raw and dirty and gritty and real. To this day, it stands up where a lot of their contemporaries, a lot of those albums don't.
Yeah. You
You put it on, you're like, oh yeah, this is 80s production, this is 80s songwriting, and you kind of, it had its day. But man, Appetite for Destruction, it's in regular rotation at my house, dude.
Yeah. No doubt.
Absolutely.
Amazing record.
All right, back to Sammy. What do you got, brother?
So this is one I mentioned. I knew as soon as Mac and I talked about this, he knew that this band was going to be on my list. Anyone who knows me knows that this band's going to be on my list. Beastie Boys, my favorite artists of all time. Kind of same time frame, right? We just talked about Appetite, License to Ill, like same thing. I remember hearing that, I think I actually heard No Sleep Till Brooklyn first, and I remember putting on that record, or putting on the cassette actually, and just it. I don't think I'd really heard hip hop. I mean, I know I'd heard Walk This Way, but I hadn't really heard hip hop at that point, which I think was probably the case for a lot of rural white kids, which I was at the time, and just blew my mind completely. And no band has influenced my musical taste or styles more than them, because that's as their style evolved and they picked up instruments and I learned, these guys were a punk rock band before, and you go back and listen to some of that stuff, some of their hardcore tracks, and and then some of their instrumental funk and jazz stuff, and just they've opened my eyes to so much, not just the music, but then lyrically too. You get through and start reading stuff, I got more hits than Sada Ara. Who's Sada Ara? This Japanese guy with, what I mean, just all those little things. I just love that band so much. And the concert specifically I'm talking about this was June 9th of 2010. I'd seen the Beastie Boys a couple times before, but it was straight hip hop shows. It was just the three guys and Mixmaster Mike, which were great. Not complaining about that at all. But I'd never heard Sabotage live. I'd never, heard any of the punk rock tracks, any of the instrumental stuff. And so they announced they were playing a show at the Orange Peel in Asheville, North Carolina, which is 2 hours from where I live in Charlotte. Great venue. And they're like, hey, tickets go on sale tomorrow. And I'm like, oh man, there's no way I'm going to get tickets to this venue. Got them, went to the show. They literally, it was they announced it 2 days before the show, 3 days before the show, something like that. And went, and it was just the best show possible if you're a hardcore Beastie Boys fan. They had Biz Markie with them.
God.
They opened. So if you listen to Check Your Head, they've got Biz versus the Nudge, a song on that, right? So that's how they opened the show, with Biz Markie coming out, and then they went right into Time for Living.
Oh my God.
And it was just, and they hit Root Down. They did Benny and the Jets with Biz Markie on vocals.
Sweet.
It was So good. They even like brought out Keyboard Money Mark to do Mark on the Bus at one point, and it was kind of like loose. So this was a warm up show for Bonnaroo.
Wow.
So it was almost like they were kind of like feeling stuff out for what they were going to play at Bonnaroo, maybe to an
Sure.
extent. But it was just like so cool. I actually have I've ticked stubs to a lot of them. We mentioned stubs earlier. I have this stub in a case because I never want to lose it. From that show, from the Beastie Boys to the Orange Peel, and sadly, it ended up being their last ever standalone show. They did Bonnaroo like right after that, and then MCA got cancer, and they never played another gig. So
Jesus.
I was somehow at the very last Beastie Boys standalone gig of all time. And yeah, it was just like such a memorable moment. It will be one that'll never be topped for me just because they're my favorite band. How awesome the show was in general. I mean, when they played Sabotage, I thought the floor was going to cave in because there's everyone in the whole venue was going nuts.
How big a venue we talking?
2,000 people, maybe something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So, not a huge room, medium size, whatever. But, definitely not like an arena show or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'd seen them in amphitheaters before and all that jazz, but seeing them in a smaller room and, like I said, just the energy and the sweatiness. And I still have like cell phone video from Sabotage. This is 2010, so it's like you can barely make anything out because the quality's so bad.
It's like the size of a postage stamp. You're like, what am I seeing here?
Yeah, exactly, man. And it's just like, such a fun, memorable show. And then the guys, they need to put out more live music. Like they need to release a live record. That's one thing the Beasties have never done. They had live tracks on the Root Down EP. And they kind of capture some of that, but they've never done a live album. So, like, I know Ad Rock and Mike D listen to the show. So, guys, Beastie Boys, live record,
Yeah.
get it out.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Come on.
Oh my God, that is something, man. Like Eric and I we've said to each other all the time. One of our biggest musical regrets is we never got a chance to see the Beasties.
Yep.
And yeah, it kind of haunts me every day. Yeah.
Dude, they're so good. And I mean, listen, I love hip hop. I'm very hit or miss on hip hop live. Some shows are really good. A lot of shows are really bad. And those guys are so good, man. It's like, I mentioned concert films earlier, but the Awesome I Shot That. I don't know if you guys ever saw that when they did the Garden, they gave cameras to the fans and then pieced them together.
Yeah.
Great concept in general, but great. It kind of captures like how good they are live. They're pretty special.
God, a live album would be amazing.
Yeah, guys got to get on it.
I know, really,
Dude,
man. And the fact that it was their last, like you said, standalone show. I mean,
Dude, I obviously wish they did more gigs, but just to know that and be like, man, okay, they did Bonnaroo after that, but that was their last standalone gig, and to be fortunate enough to be in North Carolina and get a ticket and go to that, it's like I'm so grateful for that for sure.
That's amazing, man. And to see him in a venue that size too. Oh,
yeah,
that's so great. Well, speaking of smaller venues, we're just full of segues tonight, aren't we?
yeah.
This next one took place at the Webster Theater in Hartford, Connecticut. November 11th, 2002, the group is the Murder Dolls. And if you're not familiar with the Murder Dolls, that was Joey Jordison from Slipknot. It was during some Slipknot downtime. He put this band together, and it's so not Slipknot. I mean, it might as well be jazz because it's so far from what Slipknot was doing. He wanted to be out front, so he picked up a guitar and found this band from North Carolina called the Frankenstein Drag Queens from Planet 13.
Rolls right off the tongue.
yeah, it's a great name. And the singer of that band was a gentleman by the name of Wednesday 13, who originally was recruited to play bass for the Murder Dolls, but their singer just for whatever reason wasn't cutting it, and they decided that, well, Wednesday, you sang for your old band, why don't you sing? And so there you go. The reason this particular show is so special for me is that humble brag, but I got to open the show with my band at the time, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life because Joey, even though he was playing guitar in this band, is one of my heroes. Like, he's way up there for me as a drummer. I didn't get to meet him and hang out with him or anything, but I shared the stage with one of my, musical heroes, and they just fucking killed, man. Again, it's so not Slipknot. It is, we always describe them sort of as like the Misfits meets Motley Crue. and you kind of slam those bands together, and you get the Murder Dolls. And like I said, the lineup of the band was Joey Jordison from Slipknot on guitar, Wednesday 13 on vocals, Eric Griffin on bass, AC Slade on guitar. They had a bit of a revolving door with guitarists in the beginning, but at this point, AC Slade, the classic lineup, was in the band. R.I.P. Ben Ghoul Graves, the drummer at the time, passed away some years ago from cancer. And but what an amazing, amazing drummer. You know, Joey plays the drums on the album, on the recording. You know, it's pretty much just him and Wednesday doing everything. As a matter of fact, the majority of that first album, Beyond the Valley of the Murder Dolls, they're old Frankenstein drag queen songs rehashed for this record, because it was a project that had to get slammed together really fast again, because eventually Joey was going to go back to Slipknot. So again, just an amazing, amazing show. And I got to play on the stage. I actually have some pictures of me playing, and you can see the Murder Dolls like banner behind us. So that's kind of cool. Kind of in that one picture, it kind of looks like I'm in the Murder Dolls. But anyway, Murder Dolls, check them out if you're not familiar. And another reason that's so special to me as well is that was really my introduction to Wednesday 13, who has now become one of my all-time favorite artists. I love everything he does. He does this horror punk. His newer stuff, he's leaning more towards the metal side of things. But I mean, everything is very, you know, tongue-in-cheek. He does songs about, like, you know, Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, and very campy, you know, very over the top, very Alice Cooper. So that was my introduction to Wednesday. Got to play with Joey. It was just an all around amazing night.
And another thing great, I was at that show with you.
Yeah.
And so obviously there was the excitement of watching you up on stage, you know, fucking killing it as always, right?
Thanks, dude.
And then the Murder Dolls are on.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, there had to be maybe 100 people in that place.
There wasn't many, man.
But the Murder Dolls put on a show like they were playing in front of 30,000 people.
Yes, they absolutely did.
I could not believe the show they put on, and the energy. Like they were playing to the biggest room you can imagine. I mean, they were so intense. It was such a great show. They sounded great. And I remember that night just being so much fun. Just a great, great show.
And like you said, not only were they playing like they were playing in front of 30,000 people, but the energy, like you said, man, oh my God. After the show, then I really kind of got into their music more and you know, listened to, I was like, holy shit, they were playing everything like double time. Like every song was so fucking fast. It was like that just punk rock, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and fucking just slamming into it. Oh my God, it was so great. It was so great. But yeah, you're right. They did. They were playing for you know, the Garden.
Yeah,
they were playing for 100 people at the Webster in Hartford.
Dude, that's so cool.
Oh, also my first time hearing one of my all-time favorite songs, which is I Love to Say Fuck. We've talked about.
Oh yeah.
For at least 2 or 3 years there, when Spotify gave me my year in review at the end, that was always my number one song. It's a great song when you're in traffic.
All right, I got to finish up here with another solo show that I went to. I knew I was traveling out to LA for work, so you know I start checking around the clubs, see who's playing. I know I'm going to have one night where I can break away from the work crew and go check out a show. And just my luck, it's the Viper Room's 21st anniversary show while I'm out there. Hey. August 16th, 2014. So they're going to have what they call the house band for the night is the Viper Room All-Stars. So it's the house band. It's made up of Billy Morrison from, you know, the cult, Billy Idol. Yeah. Steve Stevens, Billy Idol's guitar player, this incredible guitar player. Yep. Phil Buckman on bass from Filter. Eric Aldenius on drums. He's played with everybody. Billy Idol, Cher, Donna Summer, Jackson Brown. Wow. You guys play with everybody, right?
Who?
And then
he didn't know any of those people.
Yeah. Making a bad joke. Please continue.
A couple of minor names you may have heard of. But then it's like a rotating cast of people coming up on stage playing 1 or 2 songs. So, you know, like you had Carla Harvey from the Butcher Babies.
Nice.
She comes up and she does Ace of Spades and
Very
I Love Rock and Roll, right? Just kills, you know, and the Viper Room is small. I mean,
it's tiny. Yeah.
It's tiny. So you're 5 feet from the stage. And Billy Morrison is, along with, you know, playing and singing, he's kind of the master of ceremonies up there, kind of moving things along, keeping the crowd excited. So, you know, Carla Harvey, like I said, then you get, you know, Sebastian Bach, who we talked about, makes an appearance. You know, he does Highway to Hell and Sweet Child of Mine.
Oh, man.
Right. Billy Duffy from the Cult. You know, he comes up on stage, right? He does Rain and Sweet Soul Sister.
Oh my God.
Right? And that opening riff to Sweet Soul Sister, and he's up there with that giant ass white guitar that he plays,
Yep,
right? It looks like looks like a cello.
Good cello.
And that riff kicks in, and again, he's 5 feet away from me. And I'm just like, this is holy shit, this is the coolest thing, right?
This is like rock and roll bingo. Like you're checking all the boxes, dude.
But then there was an unannounced guest, like, everybody else who I already mentioned that I knew was on the bill. And Billy Morrison steps to the mic. He goes, "Oh, we have a surprise guest. Please welcome Steve Vai."
Oh, dude.
Steve Vai comes up and he says one song. And he leans into the mic. He goes, "Yeah, I used to play this one when I was with Dave." He launches into "You Really Got Me."
Oh, man.
And he's on lead vocals too, Steve Vai.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard him sing.
Right. And
right.
he's killing it too. He did well. But then, of course, it comes time for a guitar solo. And it turns into this epic battle between Steve Vai and Steve Stevens, where they're trading solos back and forth for several minutes.
Holy shit.
And again, it's such a small room that's happening right in front of you. And you're watching Steve fucking Vai just shred. I mean, and then he'll point over to Steve Stevens and he just starts tearing it up. And they're going back and forth, back and forth. So anyone listening, go to YouTube and type in Viper Room All-Stars. And this will come up, and you can watch this battle. Even the band members, like the All-Stars, are just hanging back, watching, and just smiling the whole time. It was amazing. And again, that was the moment. Those moments we're talking about. Like, I'm in LA, I'm on the Sunset Strip, I'm in the Viper Room, and I'm watching these two guitar gods just have this showdown. And I remember just standing there like, I could be out to dinner with some coworkers right now, but fuck that. Just like you said earlier, Sammy, if you're traveling for work or wherever you're going somewhere for a family reunion, look it up, see who's playing where, man. You might,
yeah, for sure.
You might find the greatest experience you've ever had. So that was just one of those nights where I was just thankful. Like, I can't believe I get to witness this. It was just incredible.
Dude, that's so
awesome.
cool, man. In the Viper Room with that. I mean, I've actually never set foot in there. I've been to the Whiskey, I've been to the Troubadour, which I guess isn't technically on the Strip, but, close enough.
Yep.
But, I've never been to the Viper Room, and man, to see Steve Vai come out and rip through that. And then, and to your point, I don't know that I've ever heard him sing. I mean, did he do backing vocals on like Eat 'Em and Smile or anything? I don't know. I've ever heard Steve Vai sing.
Yeah, that was the big surprise. Like when, I'm waiting for like Billy Morrison to step to the mic and sing. And then, no, it was Steve. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
And Steve Stevens, just all-time underrated guitarist.
Oh,
big
my God.
time.
Big time.
Criminally underrated.
Yeah. And what was kind of cool too was like, the show was supposed to be over, but they wanted to keep playing the All-Stars. So they did. They launched into like White Wedding.
No way.
With Steve Stevens. So you're watching him.
Yeah.
You're watching, you're like, this is it. This is the guy,
Oh,
That's
man.
so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What a night.
What a great
night.
experience, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Sammy. Oh boy, are you ready?
I think I'm ready. I'm as ready as I'm gonna be.
All right, it's time for the Ride the Lightning round.
Let's do it.
All right. And because Sammy is a huge, huge Beastie Boys fan.
We're going to call him a Beastie Boys expert.
Yes, we are. 'Cause everyone who comes on
Every
the show.
time we have a guest on, everybody's an expert at something. So you're the Beastie Boys expert.
Could
So
be
this is
worse
gonna
things
be-
I'm an expert at, so I'll take it.
This is,
Yes, for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. This is a Beastie Boys themed Ride the Lightning round.
Oh man,
Okay. This is going to be
It's going
tough.
to hurt, dude.
Are
this
you
is
ready?
gonna hurt.
All right, I'll kick this off. Ad Rock or MCA?
MCA, rest in peace.
Okay. Check Your Head or Hello Nasty?
Check Your Head.
All right.
Hey Ladies or You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party?
Hey, ladies.
Okay.
License to Ill or Ill Communication?
Oh God. I don't have two kids, but if I had two kids, this would be like choosing between two kids.
Right. It's Sophie's Choice, man. We talk about it all the time.
Oh God. Ill communication.
MCA or Mike D?
MCA.
Sure Shot or Sabotage?
Sure Shot. This is excruciating, by the way.
Oh my God.
I know the people who are listening can't see my face, but it's genuine agony.
I know. I really wish
he's in
they
agony.
could.
All right. Body moving or shake your rump?
Oh, man. Shake your rump.
Mike D or Ad Rock?
Ad Rock. No disrespect to Mike D. I love Mike D.
Of course.
Now, apparently you hate him. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Best collab. Kerry King from Slayer on No Sleep Till Brooklyn or Q-Tip on Get It Together.
Oh, God. Yeah, they're both such good songs. And I listen to both of them so much. Kerry King, No Sleep Till.
And finally, Brass Monkey or So What You Want? Stings. It stings.
So What You Want.
Okay.
All right, man. Nice job.
That was hard. I know I'm supposed to get those fast. That was tough because I'm like trying to break them down in my head really quick.
I'm going to go out and I'm going to say it's almost impossible to do them fast. I say almost because we have had a couple people rip through, but I struggled just as you did.
Yeah, dude, it's so hard. I mean, yeah. Especially with a band like that you love or subject matter, like whatever. It's like, so hard. People ask me like, what's your favorite Beasties album? I'm like, it depends on what day you ask me.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything you want to go back and defend or explain, or do you want to leave it as is?
I'm trying to think. I mean, man, ill communication and License to Ill is really hard. Really hard. I think I went ill communication there. I'll defend it on because it's more varied, right? You've got some more rock tracks. And I mean, I guess you could argue Fight for Your Rights, a rock track. But I think that one was really tough. And man, I mean, Q-Tip Get It Together is one of the greatest collabs of all time. And so that was, and I love Trop Called Quest, love Trop Called Quest.
Sure.
So man, that one was really hard. That's the only one that I'm like, man, I don't know. Did I make the right call on that one? But I mean,
dude, that
No
one,
Sleep Till Brooklyn is iconic.
That one came to me last minute. It popped into my head, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna get him right here."
Yeah, that's a good one.
That was a good one, man. Good call. That was tough.
Nice.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
Well, hey,
good
well
job,
done.
dude.
Yeah, good job, man. I know that wasn't easy, but you did great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm sweating now, literally.
And why do you hate Mike D?
I love Mike D. I don't know. I feel in my head with those, I'm like, all right, well, I have to I have to say MCA, right? For all of these. And it's like, man, Mike D or Ad Rock, I don't know. Yeah. I love Mike D. Oh, yeah. I love it. And Mike D's Echo Chamber, I listen to it all the time, but I don't know. Yeah. No hatred for anybody in the Beasties camp.
No, of course.
All right, let's do some shout outs, Eric.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanking some new and returning listeners. Cologne, Germany. Gothenburg, Sweden. Tampere, Finland. Istanbul, Turkey, Eric.
Wow.
Manchester, UK. Florianopolis, Brazil. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Roanoke, Virginia. Waterbury, Connecticut. St. Cloud, Minnesota. Lithonia, Georgia. Richmond, Virginia. Chicago, Illinois. Laguna Woods, California. Lehigh Acres, Florida. And Lawrence, Massachusetts. Thank you. Thank you so much for checking us out. We appreciate it.
Yeah, keep coming back, please.
If you like the show, wherever you're listening, please rate us, review us, and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube, where we get lots of great comments from everybody on YouTube, including some that critique my voice. Which I know my voice is limited. I understand, and I think it's funny. Also, check us out on Instagram at The Greatest Mixtape Podcast.
Again, Sammy, thanks so much for coming on and hanging out with us. It was a pleasure.
Oh, gents, thanks so much for having me, man. This was an absolute blast. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Sammy, thank you so much.
Maybe we'll do a full Beastie Boys episode and have to have you come back for that. That would be cool.
Don't tempt me.
All right. Well, this is the Greatest Mixtape Podcast. Thanks again for hanging out with us. We will be back again with another episode really soon. Until then, I'm Eric.
And I'm Mac.
And we will talk to you soon.
See ya.